You said that when you encounter people that truly believe in God, that you consider them lucky.
Hmm.
What is stopping you from reaching that point?
I just don't. I wish I knew what was stopping me. It's like if you have a very analytical mind, okay, and you are used to reading a lot. I've read so many philosophers, so many um, I don't know, people like Ian McGilchrist and people like you read these people and they are full of questions. Um, but when I read mystics, or sometimes I feel a little spark of mysticism maybe in my poetry. I can't say that it's mine. I can't say that that's God. I don't know. But the people that I know that have very strong faith, they are good people usually. They are very good people. But they don't have that analytical mind, that curiosity to, oh, really? How do you know? Uh, and who told you that? Can you prove that? And is that, or really? You see, I think if you have that mind where you ask all the questions all the time, maybe maybe it's not possible to believe. I don't know.
That's a very interesting idea.
I think if I had like a very powerful spiritual experience, okay, that
Hmm.
God would actually prove that he exists, I would probably believe.
Right.
But it's hard when you are when you're always questioning and you have to go with the experiences of others. It's like, well, I mean, okay, so you had that, but so I don't know. And you ask yourself questions again. So because I read the mystics, okay, like Saint John of the Cross and Saint Teresa of Avila and all this.
Hmm.
You read them, they are absolutely in love with this with God. It's incredible. It's like if have you read Rumi? Oh, he is like passionately. And that too, I love it. I find it fascinating, but it's not me. It's not my experience. You see, you can't fake believing, I think. Although I think some philosopher Ted had said, if you fake it enough, you will believe. I forget who that was. I think it was a French guy,
Yeah,
but
it's a different
yeah,
take
because
on
it would
the.
go, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
faites semblant de croire et bientôt vous croirez. So it's like
Yeah,
fake it and then you will have it. But I don't know if that could work.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think I'd rather die with a question mark. You know that?
Hmm.
Because I'm 76, I think about dying. In 4 years, I'll be 80, and I think about it. And I think there's a big dignity in dying with a question mark. I don't know. I really don't know. But you're open. You're open. That's what counts. It's to be open, not to say there's nothing. And blah, 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 blah. It's like you die with a question mark. Maybe that's the best way. I don't know.
This is a very interesting thing to think about. So the question, what's stopping you from believing wholeheartedly in God? I think the answer boils down to having an analytical mind and having that natural curiosity and keep asking questions. And it kind of makes sense um, because in the scientific community, so the scientific community, scientists are generally seen as the polar opposites to religious people
Mhm.
throughout history, I think. And there is overlap. So there is, of course, scientists who believe in God,
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
100%. But the idea of having that natural curiosity and that tendency to ask questions, not just now, but like as part of your personality, it is your being to ask questions. That somehow inhibits you from believing, because the idea of believing in God is kind of not asking yourself any question. I'm not really sure what the question will be, but it prevents you from asking the question if there's anything else, maybe something along those lines.
Hmm.
So would you say that somebody who is incredibly curious and keeps asking questions, like this stereotypical eternal student, they never stop learning ever, doesn't matter how young or old they are?
Yeah.
Do you think those kind of people are the least likely? And you kind of already answered it, but are the least likely to believe in God, to be religious, to be spiritual, and to therefore maybe in extension practice poetry as this quest to reconnect with spirituality? Would it be a fair assessment?
Possibly. Because I think for me, that's what poetry was. It's almost like a vehicle to move through spirituality, if you want to,
Right.
as I, it's like a part of the search. But I have found also that there are people, as we say today, that are on the autism spectrum,
Hmm.
um, that have, well, I will say it this way, okay? I'm not a scientist, but that have very, very strong left hemisphere um, ways of seeing the world. There's no way that they can believe in God. There's no way. There's no room. Everything is so, these are minds of, I don't know, technology, computer programming, engineers. It's very difficult. They're very good people. They are very kind people. They have sometimes, very often, a lack of social skills. They can't decipher emotions, and they have very little emotions. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they can, but I relate a little bit to those people. Not that I'm on any autism spectrum. That's not what I mean.
Hmm.
But I relate. I see where it is for an inquisitive mind. It is so impossible to believe. Maybe not impossible, but it is hard. It's not something, maybe you should fake it. I don't know. I don't think so. I think as I said, living your life honestly, finding your voice, whatever, and dying with a big question mark. I think that's wonderful.
It's an adventure.
We don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, you just don't know. I could never say I have found the truth. I could never say that.
Right. Yeah. I really wonder what it would take. I really wonder what the answer to that question is. What it would take for a person with your personality in this case, so a person who is very curious, this eternal student, not even just disagreeable. I don't think even in this specific context, the disagreeableness is relevant. It's more that curiosity, that yeah, to use your words, that inquisitive mind.
You just
What
never
does
have
it
to
take?
stop.
Yeah, what does it take for them to reach the point of wholeheartedly believing? I really wonder what the answer to that question is.
But the question I have for you, this one, is why? Why should they? Isn't it better to have all kinds of people? I think, is it absolutely necessary that they believe? I don't think so. I think there's a way to live a very I don't know, very good life, very
Yeah.
um, intelligent life, a very meaningful life. And don't you think also that fate cannot exist without doubt? So if you put it in on the scale of humanity,
Hmm.
some people need to believe, but some people need not to believe. You see what I'm saying? I think it's all part of a balancing. Um, I'm not sure. It's like the story of Cain and Abel in the Bible. Um, there are many ways of explaining that, and some people have interpreted it in many different ways. The way I see it is there are people who will write poetry, let's say, and God will love it right away. But then there's Cain who writes poetry, and God says, that's not it. And I think that's part of who we are in humanity. But you don't want Cain to kill Abel.
Hmm.
But at the same time, what if we were all Abels? And what if we were all Cains? It's, I think it's part of life. It's like good and evil can have to coexist. And I'm not saying Cain was evil, but probably if he killed, uh, you know, it's like it all has to be. So I think that people who are good people and who just cannot believe, um, it's okay. It's fine. I think the ones maybe that feel too much evil in their lives, though, or who commit evil and so on, maybe that's, I don't want to say this, but I'm saying it anyway. Maybe that's okay too. Maybe that's part of the, how can you have good if you don't have evil? How would you recognize evil? How would you, I don't know. That's all so many questions, so many questions.
Hmm.
And, all those philosophers who I've read so many of them, and they don't know. I mean, they explain certain things, but I think nobody really understands. I like Ian McGilchrist for that because he is a scientist. He has studied the brain and has written powerful books and has seen how we need the transfer of both hemispheres together, the work together.
Hmm.
But he doesn't have any answers. He doesn't say, oh, if you do this, you're going to be happy. Mm-mm. He said, listen, I've discovered this thing, that we have between our two ears, and I've seen how it works. And it's like, that's all I can say is what I saw and how sad it is right now because one part took over, sort of. Okay, so we have to kind of balance things out. But he doesn't give any answers or any. I think I don't know. Maybe we have to find answers for ourselves. Some people have to find answers for ourselves, and some people need faith. I think a lot of people that I know that have faith could probably not live without it. They need that. It's like a guidepost. It's like, they need that.
Right.
But for some, a guidepost is something to be chopped and to find your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that easy. It's not that easy.
No, it is not. And this is one of those incredibly complex subjects that there is no single answer to. And like you said, everybody I think has to arrive to their own answer.
Yeah.
I think if I may think out loud for a little bit and tell me what you think about this, the question that you asked, why do you want to believe? Why should you?
Yeah.
I think so. I don't necessarily think that faith is this framework that will help people operate, that if they didn't have it, would go on to live chaotic lives. So I don't think faith is just, and that's not what you said. So I'm making it extreme right now, but I don't think that extreme is true. What I think is that faith is a framework by itself for everybody, and that I think even though you're living a good life and even though you are a good person, whatever good may be within the specific context, and even though you're good for your community and you provide value and all those sorts of things, right? Everybody loves you, all those sorts of things. I think faith is, from technically speaking, a mechanism to put something at the highest that is not yourself
Hmm.
or your ideas. It is this belief that you don't have all the answers. You don't even have all the right questions,
Hmm.
but you believe that everything in our being and everything around us is there for a reason and is operating a certain way for a reason. And everything in the end will be okay, whatever challenges right now we are facing, as the challenges that we, discussed over the course of our conversation. In the end, it will be okay because there's a purpose to it. And there's something higher than us that has this under control. That made all of this happen for a reason. And I think if I zoom out and I look at that, um, yeah, I'm calling it a mechanism from a very technical standpoint, but I look at the way that hierarchy or that framework or whatever name you want to give it operates. I think that whether you don't have your life under control or you do have your life under control, that framework still provides the value of knowing that you don't have all the answers and that there is this eternal call for adventure, this asking questions,
Hmm.
talking to people, listening to people, asking the proper questions to people just to figure out what's what. It's this it's this mechanism that is injecting humility into people, I think. Maybe that is the value, and it also goes towards meaning. It provides, I think, to a certain degree, and I can't really properly articulate why it provides meaning. But I think it provides meaning because you understand that because you are part of this system that has a purpose and you have your place in that system, which is your place in your community, that by doing the best thing that you possibly can do, you are serving that and that you are serving that whole system. Maybe that is the value. Maybe that is the answer to the question: why believe?
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
But maybe there's a danger in believing, um, because if you believe, um, I think faith, it's like anything else, it can become very complacent. Um, it's easy if you're born in a family that believes and you all believe and you all pray and everything is, but I think it has to be questioned all the time. It has to be evaluated. It has to be, you kind of have to shake it up, because it's part of honesty. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to be to have faith and to, I found also, sadly, that people who have faith um, do not have a good way of seeing people who don't,
Right.
and are sometimes very judgmental. You know what I mean? And so there's something there that is complacent. There's something there that is a little bit too easy. I think for people like me, or for people who are striving to maybe find truth instead of faith, if truth exists, um, well, let's say that I'm pretty much on that side. It's a very difficult side. It's like a search, or you have to practice. You have to. Oh, I did. I went on fast. You know, when you fast for 12 days, I wanted to have the experience. Some people go on these high drugs, to have spiritual experiences. I've never done that. I tried a little bit of mushrooms sometimes. I really liked it, but not enough to. I think it's very artificial. It's not something to me that really. But for me, it's been reading all these poets. Not poets sometimes are not that bright. But some are, and philosophers are. Oh, they twist your brain. They bring you in all kinds of directions. They say yes, but what if? And I don't know, I'm drawn to that. And I think there's a need in this world for that. I think faith is okay, but it may be just, I'm not saying it's easy as I judge it. I don't judge it. I think that people that have faith are very lucky, because maybe life is easier. Maybe life is easier when you believe.
Maybe.
If you have something that happens that is tearing you apart, and you can just turn to God and say, "Oh man, that hurts. Why did you do that?" Or and you know that it's was the right thing to do, because people who have faith justify so many things because it was the will of God. And I've seen through the age, through my life, and through the ignorance of my parents' generation, how they would believe that something is the will of God, and no, 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 scientifically, I'm sorry, this can be cured, or this shouldn't have happened if you would have, you know what I mean? Like, in medicine, in different ways too, in psychology. Can you imagine when I was young, something like homosexuality was like the devil. You have to put that in hell. You know what I mean? Like, faith is dangerous. It's dangerous, I think. Um, and the scriptures and the Bible and all that, well, maybe we need people to interpret them better. I know as a child, I knew the Bible as something awfully scary. and and most of the stories, we didn't understand them at all. We were just told to, that we were, the nuns would tell us that we were hanging over hell by a hair.
Hmm.
Can you imagine when you're a kid? I mean, so I don't know. Maybe that's what threw me off from faith. But I think it can be dangerous. I'm just saying that I know very, very good, amazing people who have faith and who pray, and who I even ask some of them sometimes to pray for me. I do, because I think when people think about you in very positive ways, I think it helps. It really does. I think it really does. And so, but there are dangers. I find.
What specifically is it about words and about language that you love so deeply, that you care so much about?
It's like the possibilities of words. It's endless. You know, words can make you say horrible things, they can destroy you, they can also love you, but they are amazing. I have two sons, and the youngest was diagnosed with schizophrenia. You don't even know that he's sick. His body is there, but there's somebody in there that is not your son.
I have a question for you, but if you feel that that question goes too far, or if you don't want to answer it for any reason whatsoever, please let me know.
If you have something that happens that is tearing you apart, and you can just turn to God and say, "Oh man, that hurts. Why did you do that?" I don't judge it. I think that people that have faith are very lucky. Maybe life is easier when you believe.
What you and I are having right now is not a conversation about poetry. It's a conversation about the human experience, your human experience. That is a beautiful story. That is a story very much worth telling. And I think you've really told that story very beautifully today.